Our focus topic for today is productivity tips for personal trainers and sole traders, and our guest presenter is Chantal Broderick. Chantal Broderick worked in senior sales and marketing roles in the media industry for 15 years before transitioning careers. In 2008, she became a qualified personal trainer and group fitness instructor, and in 2015, she became the host of the Fitness Business Podcast, the world's leading podcast for fitness business owners and managers. During today's presentation, Chantal will guide you through tips on time management, shortcuts for social media, and how to streamline your professional development. Before we get started, there is some important information you need to know. You will have the opportunity to submit questions by typing them into the question section. We will collect them during the presentation and be sure to answer them. It's now my pleasure to introduce you to our guest presenter for today, Chantal Broderick.
Thank you so much, Maddie. What a fantastic opening. Thank you for that great introduction. So guys, I'm just jumping onto camera really quickly now so I can see, or at least you guys can see me in person, because I just want to welcome you all along and say a massive big thank you for joining me this afternoon. I am really excited about presenting this information to you guys. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about me in just a second, but just so you know, I've been in your shoes, and a lot of the tips that I take you through today are things that I have implemented into my own business to help me with productivity, and I know that they're things that will be able to help you guys as well. So just a quick hello from me. I'm going to stop the video and we're going to head over to the presentation now. And just like Maddie said, please make sure that if you've got any questions that you do ask me along the way. I'll do my best to answer them as we're going. If we run out of time, then I will definitely get back to you via Maddie after today's session. So let's dive into productivity tips for personal trainers and sole traders. And let me see if this is going to work. Here we go. So we're going to focus on three key areas today. So the first section that we're going into is some tips around time management. So it's really about how we actually manage time within the business side of being a personal trader, of being a sole trader. We're then going to dive into some shortcuts for creating social media content. This is one of my absolute favorite areas. And the reason that is because I see so many trainers struggling with this. It can be a really overwhelming part of running a personal training business. And I'm going to share some tips with you guys today, which I hope will really help you create your social and get it online a whole lot easier. And then we're going to finish off today with some systems to streamline your professional development. Anyone that knows me knows that I am completely obsessed with professional development. So I want to share with you a couple of ways that you can start to increase the amount of time that you learn so that you are learning more from your business perspective, or maybe even from a technical perspective, but ways in which you can actually increase your professional development and fit it into what I'm sure is already a very busy week and busy workload. And it's great to see so many of you are on the line this morning, guys. Thank you for joining me. So just very quickly, for anyone that I haven't met before, here's a quick snapshot about me. Maddie already mentioned that I have a sales and marketing background. So I was in the corporate world for a number of years before coming into fitness. I have spent the last 10 years as a personal trainer and a group fitness instructor. I don't PT these days, but I do still teach group fitness and absolutely love to do that. And as Maddie mentioned, what I spend most of my time doing these days is hosting the Fitness Business Podcast. Now, the great thing about that is that it's allowed me to meet some consultants from all across the world and really learn about the ways that they manage their business, how they actually can really successful and productive and profitable business. And some of those lessons that I learned, I'll also be sharing with you guys today. Now, if you want to get in touch with me, all of my contact details are up on the screen, and I'll also later on today. So let's dive into some tips around time management. There are three things that I really encourage you to do straight away that are going to make a huge difference when it comes to managing your time. Now, one of the things that I see a lot of PTs struggling with is, how do I actually get everything done in what is already a busy week? You're out there training clients. You're putting a lot of effort and energy into writing your programs, into having one-on-one time with your clients, that sometimes it feels impossible to actually fit in the business side of running a personal training business. So the first thing I want to encourage you all to do today is actually to do a time audit on a standard working week for yourself. And the reason I want you to do that is because sometimes we can be a little bit misled as to how much time we're spending on certain tasks. So by starting off by doing a time audit, it's going to give you a really clear idea of how much time you're spending on programming, how much time you're spending one-on-one with your clients, how much time you're doing lead and prospecting, how much time you're actually spending on your social media. So toggle.com is a fantastic free online tool that all you need to do is jump onto the website. It comes onto your desktop and you can hit start and stop for each individual task that you do. Now, I encourage you to do this on a day that you allocate as your admin day. So it might be the day that you're sitting at home or you're sitting in the gym and you're working on like your programming, or you're working on your social media, or perhaps you're doing some of your bookkeeping. Do it on that day so that you get a really clear idea of exactly how much time you're spending on each individual item within your business. And we'll talk about this in a little bit more detail shortly. Now, the second thing, and one of the most important things that you can do when it comes to time management, is turn off your push notifications on your phone. This is a huge one that a lot of people underestimate just how much push notifications affect our workflow during the day. So if you think for a second as to what your personal habit is when you get an email notification come up on your phone, or what do you do when Facebook comes up on your phone and says someone's mentioned you in a post, or maybe someone's featured you in an Instagram story? Our initial and immediate reaction is to go and check that post. But what happens is when we go and do it, we get completely distracted from whatever it was that we are doing. So I want you to turn around your behavior when it comes to interacting with your emails and interacting with your social media. And the best way for you to do that is take control, turn off your push notifications. And that means you decide on the times that you're actually interacting with those various platforms. It's not easy. Trust me, it took me a little while to get used to this, especially turning off emails, but it will make a huge difference to your day. Now, the third thing on my list for things that you must do immediately is to Marie Kondo your to-do list. Now, I know some of you know what I'm talking about, and some of you will go, what on earth is she talking about? But here's the thing. So many people's to-do list look crazy. They are a complete mess. They're out of control. We're talking about 10, 15, 20, 30 different things that you feel as though you need to accomplish to get to the end of your to-do list. When your to-do list looks like that and it is overstocked and just piling over with things that you need to do, chances are you're not going to get to them because it's too overwhelming to even start. So when I say Marie Kondo your to-do list, what I would love you to do is just choose the top 3 things that you need to do. What are the 3 things that you need to do today to move forward with your business? And then you might also want to do the 3 overarching things, the big picture goals that you need to do. Pop those on that list as well. So what are the 3 things that you need to do today that you absolutely must do to tick off that list? And then what are the 3 overarching goals that you're working on that's going to move you a step closer to the bigger goals that you're trying to achieve? So there's our first 3. Now, the rule of 3, I just mentioned it then. 3 tasks that will move you closer to your long-term goal, and 3 tasks that you must cross off your to-do list. Trust me on this. If you minimize and clean up your to-do list and just focus on those 3, you are going to get them done. Once you've done them, move on to the next 3. Simplify things, it will make a huge difference. Okay, let's move on to a couple of my all-time favorite apps. These ones are absolute game changers when it comes to our business. And the first app for saving time is called Unroll.me. And you guys, this is really funny, but I feel like I want to interact with you. I want to know if you guys are using this, but I am going to give a little poll right now. I'm just launching a poll right now. Because I do want to know who's attending Filex, so I'm just going to run that in the background as well. But so Unroll.me, if you haven't heard of this before, is again, it's an online app. And what it does is it basically comes through your email system, and it does it about once a month. And it comes to you as an email form, and it says, hey, Chantal, I have found 15 subscriptions or 30 subscriptions that you are subscribed to on their email newsletter. Here's a list of them. Would you like me to unroll you from all of these? Because you know that sometimes what we do is we might subscribe to an email newsletter for one company, but all of a sudden, somehow, by the magic of online, we're then subscribed to 5 different things. So with unroll.me, it basically is like a cleaner for your inbox. Really quick, really efficient, and it's just a really great way to really quickly minimize the amount of junk that is coming into your inbox. That's number 1. Number 2, when it comes to apps for saving time, is an app called Text Expander. What I love about this particular app is it saves you retyping the same content or the same messages that you might do over and over again. So let's think about a standard inquiry that might come to you as a personal trainer. You might have someone who has found you on Facebook, or maybe they've found your website, and they email you saying, "Hi Sarah, just wondering whether or not you do outdoor training?" ? Now let's say that's a question that you get time and time again, and what you do is you find yourself answering that question, but to answer it, you're either retyping out the same answer, and just obviously for a different person, or you're going back to an old email, you're copying the answer from last time, back to the new email, pasting that answer, and then sending it off. So the beauty of Text Expander is that basically cuts all of that time down. And what you do is into the system, you plug a small code, and that code is then attached to a snippet of text. And the snippet of text is whatever you want it to be, whatever you know you are answering time and time again, you put that into the body copy. So then what happens is next time you get that very same inquiry saying, "Hey Sarah, I was wondering if you do outdoor training," rather than cut and paste and rather than rewrite the same answer again, all you do is put that little snippet, that code that you have assigned to that piece of text, which might be something like, the snippet might be outdoor training. You put that into your email, and like magic, Text Expander automatically populates the response into your email body. You can then customize it, you can add text if you want to, but it's going to cut down a huge amount of time when you're responding to emails. And the last one that I want to share with you when it comes to apps for saving time is an app that is called If This, Then That. This is a really clever app because essentially what it does is it creates formulas between multiple different apps that you might use. So let's have a look at the examples that I've got on screen. So it can create a formula that says, okay, every time I upload an Instagram photo for my business, then automatically send that photo into a Facebook album that I've created. So an example of that might be, let's say you've got a page where you celebrate all of your clients' success stories and wins. Then you could create this algorithm through If This Then That, and super simple, to just post that directly into a Facebook album that all of your clients can access or they can see. Another example is you might want to sync your Instagram posts directly to a Pinterest board rather than doing 2 separate steps. Or another great one that I love is the bottom one, which is send your Facebook status updates directly through to your Twitter account. So super simple, and there are a huge number of different setups that you can do, or you can make your own. So there's just a couple of ways that you can actually save time using some apps. Thank you so much to everyone that is responding to the poll, by the way. So it looks like most of you are not attending URSA this year. So I'm sorry to hear that, but there are a few of you that are, so I look forward to meeting you guys that are coming along to, did I say URSA? Philex this year. URSA's done. Okay, let's move on to some time-saving business tools now. So one of the best tools that you can actually use when it comes to creating content, images, design, social media posts is Canva. I'm going to guess that a lot of you are already familiar with Canva out there, but I absolutely insist on reminding everyone and mentioning it every time, because if you don't know about it, then you should know about it. So Canva makes it super easy for you to create your own images with a pretty easy drop and drag function. It's all on your desktop app. In most cases, you can create things for free, or you can actually upgrade that to a premium option if you want, where you can access extra images or buy extra images. Now, the lesser known version of that, which is not quite as sophisticated, but still a fantastic app while you're on the go, is called Typorama. And Typorama is a phone-based app, so you're going to use it on your mobile, and it does a similar thing in that you can combine and create social media images on the fly, different text, different formats. You can even upgrade that app for a couple of bucks. It's not much at all, but you can upgrade that app and drop in your logo as well. So Typorama is a really good one for when you're on the run. If you guys are looking at creating videos, Animoto is a really fantastic online app that you can also use. So Animoto is very similar to Canva, except it's video based. And again, you can drag and drop video of either ones that are from the library or ones that you input yourself, and you can overlay it with music and overlay it with text as well. Okay, now Alicia has asked about the previous apps. Are they free? Yes, so the ones that I talked about to start off with, guys, I'm just going to go back quickly. Let's just go back really quick. So Unroll.me is free, Text Expander is free. If This and That, I think, is free to start, but you might need to there might be some in-app purchases, but the other two, yes, definitely, Alyssa. Great question. Okay, Canva, Typorama, Animoto. Oh, we'll come back to that one. When it comes to managing your passwords, I don't know about you, but I sometimes spend heaps of time trying to remember and trying to search for passwords for different apps and different programs that I use. There is a solution for that, and it's called LastPass. So LastPass is a way that you can actually just store everything in one single place and make it super fast and super easy. Similar when it comes to tax receipts, so many times these days it goes automatically on our phone. There was an app that I used to use all the time called Shoeboxed. It's now called Squirrel Street. I don't know why, but same deal. You can basically take a photo of your receipt and automatically store it and keep hold of it until tax time. Now, the last one that I've got on screen is a really interesting one, and I want to share it with you guys because it's something that helped me a lot when I was PTing, and I still use it in my current job now. And it's called Focus at Will. Now, full disclosure, this one does have a cost to it. It's not a free app. However, Focus at Will basically has been created with a scientific formula where basically they have worked out different types of music that help you focus while you are studying or while you are working, and it really helps you avoid distraction. Now, in my role currently, I use Focus at Will when I'm editing a show because it just really helps me stay on that particular task without being distracted from other things that are going on. In your case, it might be when you are, let's say, working on a new marketing piece. It might be when you're writing a program for a client. It might be when you're doing your bookkeeping. Focus at Will is a really handy app that you can do a free trial, but then it is paid after that. Now, guys, before we go on, because I know I'm throwing a huge amount of apps and information at you, what I encourage you to do with everything that we go through today, I'm going to ask you this at the end, is go back to our rule of 3. And maybe you're writing all this stuff down, but what I would love you to do is choose just 3 things, 3 actions from today that you're going to implement into your business. It might be 3 apps that you use or 3 rituals that you use. It might be something we talk about social media, but just try and grab 3 to start off with so that you're not overwhelmed with the amount of stuff that we're going through today. And you can always go back and rewatch the presentation, have a look at the PDF and go back and get all of these apps if you want to check them out. And the other thing I want to say, guys, is you may very well use different apps for some of these same functions. I'm sharing the ones that work really well for my business and I know work for a lot of personal trainers, but you might have some others in there as well that work really well for you. Okay, on to my favorite section, which is creating social content. So a lot of the time when I speak to personal trainers and we're talking about their social media content, it's a little bit of a mess. Okay, because what happens is we get so caught up in training our clients and spending all our time focusing on the programs that we're writing, or doing our timetable for the week, or whatever it might be, that sometimes our social media content and creation and scheduling kind of takes a backseat to everything else that we're doing. So today I want to share with you a couple of ways that you can actually start to streamline the way that you create and prepare your social media content, so that it takes the weight off your shoulders of having to feel like you're constantly having to post things on the fly. So pre-planning and scheduling, it allows you space to breathe. And the first place that I'd like to start with that is thinking about theming your dates, or even theming your months. So think about things like, can I create posts that are all around motivational tips on a Monday? Perhaps on a Tuesday, I'm going to focus on doing training tips. Perhaps on a Wednesday, I'm going to celebrate my client wins. The alternative to that is you can actually look at theming by month. So you might say, during the month of January, I'm going to focus 100% on educating my clients and my community and my network on different exercise techniques. And that's all of my content that I'm going to focus on for the month of January. Maybe in February, you're going to do food education or nutritional education. Maybe in March, you're going to celebrate personal bests for your clients. But the main thing is that you are pre-planning and theming your content, which is really going to help you as far as forward planning goes and saving time later on. So let's have a look at what that might look like in a schedule. So this is just a 3-day sample that I put together. And in a second, I'm going to share with you a link to a really fantastic social media schedule that you might want to download for yourself. But this is a really simple version of what you can do. So let's take the example of our Motivational Monday, our Training Tip Tuesday, our Client Wins Wednesday. And what we might say is, as a personal trainer, I know that my clients are hanging out on Facebook, and some of them are on LinkedIn and some of them are on Instagram. So they're the platforms that I want to work on, and you can chop and change that as you wish. So I'm going to say for my first Motivational Monday that I'm going to put in a quote, which is, only I can change my life, no one can do it for me, or whatever you want it to do. Now, on my Facebook one, I'm going to link it to an image that I've chosen, and I'm going to schedule it at 6:05 a.m. I'm going to put a similar message on my LinkedIn, and maybe I'm going to share an article to go with that relates to that quote. So it's got a little bit more depth to it. And maybe I'm going to schedule that at 9 a.m. And then on my Instagram page, I'm going to do exactly the same. It might be a more visual image, and I'm going to post that at 3 p.m. Whatever it might be, essentially the idea here is that we are pre-planning and pre-scheduling our content based on themes. And the reason that I'm encouraging you to keep coming back to this theming is because when we don't assign a particular theme or a topic to this action, then it's really easy to get lost and overwhelmed in just the amount of content that we can actually work on, because there's heaps of stuff that we can talk about as personal trainers. But this will give you some flow, it will give you some direction, and it will definitely give you focus. So as far as actually moving forward with a plan along these ways, the way that I suggest that you take a look at this is start by setting a reoccurring date in your diary to actually plan your social media. And like I said in that image that we saw at the very beginning of that messy room, I find that quite often what we do is we tend to post our social content on the run. So it's Monday, we know we've got a list full of clients, it's going to be a really busy day, and halfway through the day, something really cool pops up on your Instagram feed and you're like, yep, I want to share it. So there's a piece of content that goes up. Or your client does a new deadlift PB and there's a piece of content that goes up. Now, don't get me wrong, there is nothing wrong with doing ad hoc content. In fact, it's great because it shows that, it's like a day in the life of stuff that's happening right now. But the great thing about having this underlying plan is that if you happen to have one of those days, and we all have those days where we get too busy to post, where we get too busy to even think about what we're going to put on our social to communicate with our clients, connect with our clients, then the beauty of pre-scheduling and pre-planning is that it's all happening in the background. So it gives you a great peace of mind. The other way that you can actually help yourself with this is by setting up a folder in Google or in Dropbox or an app, and I'll share a couple of apps with you shortly, and where you can just save your images and your videos and everything that you've got on the go, so that when it does come to planning, you can just go and grab those images and those videos and those ideas and pop them into your plan. And again, I really recommend that you look at doing a planning calendar 4 weeks at a time. So a great way you might think about this is you might say, okay, well, my quietest day of the week is a Thursday. So I'm going to choose the first Thursday of each month to fill in my content calendar, to put everything into the plan, to pre-schedule everything. And then guess what? It's done for 4 weeks. And then 4 weeks later, you come back and you revisit it and you do the next 4-week block. Now, I just want to reiterate, this does not mean that you set and forget. It doesn't mean that your stuff just goes online and you kind of just ignore it after that. You still need to interact with your community. You still need to go back and see if they've commented or liked on it. You still need to interact, and you still need to do those ad hoc posts as well. But this is your security blanket. This is kind of the foundation that just gives you that peace of mind that there is content going up onto your pages where your clients are hanging out. Okay, let's see. Oh, there we go. Okay, so I promised you a couple of social media scheduling tools and that template. So once we've actually planned our content, let's say for that 4-week period, then we want to go about scheduling it. And there's a couple of ways that you can do that. Now, Facebook prefers that you schedule it directly into the app. So you're just going to go into your Facebook scheduler. But there are other tools that you can use like CoSchedule and Hootsuite, where you can go in and set up an account. And from that one source, that one place, you can populate your social media for, let's say, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, a range of different social platforms. And you're just sitting in that one app and putting in the content and deciding what time of day, where it's going to go, what the content says, and what it looks like. So you can check those out. I personally use CoSchedule. I find it really easy, and it's got a great mobile app that goes with it. But Hootsuite is also excellent. Now, as I said earlier, if you want to get a beautiful detailed social media planning template, I showed you like a 3-day version, which is just my version. But if you want a detailed one, then you can hop over to that link there, and you'll be able to get that link at the end of the session as well, just in case you don't have time to copy it down right now. Someone was asking about capturing ideas and inspiration. So you can use Google Drive. Personally, I use Dropbox. Evernote is a really great one. And again, you'll notice sticking with the rule of 3, I could put about 7 up here, guys, but I'm just giving you 3 different ones that you can choose from. And then if you want to manage your projects and your workflow, you can look at things like Basecamp or Trello or Todoist. And these are all different apps that you can actually use to manage your overarching workflow for your fitness business. Now, let me go back and say one more time, there is heaps of content we're going through today, heaps and heaps in sort of a 50-minute period. So please don't feel overwhelmed. Grab the 3 things that are most relevant for you. That is all you need to do for today. You can come back and have a look, have a look at this information later on. So when it comes to our social media, the last section that I want to share with you is some content idea starters. And these are 7 of my favorite ways to generate content for your social media pages. As I said, quite often we'll come up with things on the run, but I'm asking you to create 4 weeks of content at once, which can be a lot. So here are a couple of ideas that I really hope will help you guys out when it comes to creating your social media. So the first one is FAQs. So write down the 10 most common questions that you get asked in your role as a personal trainer. So what is it that your clients are asking you all the time? And then to create content, just answer those questions one at a time. So one day is one answer. And maybe the 2 days later, you're going to answer another one, or maybe you spread it out over a period of time. But frequently asked questions is a great way to generate content. The next one is doing top 5 or top 10 lists. This one is super easy and it is so fast to create. You might do things like top 5 foods to avoid when eating clean, or top 10 ways to move more often. All you need to do with these is create a bullet point list, pop it into Canva or pop it into Animoto. It is super fast and it's a great way to create relevant content for your audience. The next one, guys, is behind the scenes pic or video. This is huge on Instagram stories. So if your audience are hanging out on Instagram stories, then this is an area that I really encourage you to take a look at. People love watching behind the scenes. You'll be really surprised. So it's just simply exactly as it sounds. What is it that you're doing? Maybe it's having a look behind the scenes of how you're preparing your plans for your clients, or maybe it's your own meal prep, or maybe it's your own exercise. You might also want to do how-to pics or videos, because I guarantee you can super quickly come up with at least 10 how-to videos, probably in under 5 minutes. It's so quick. Things like how to set up for a squat, how to make a green smoothie, maybe how to properly set up your spin bike. Heaps and heaps of how-tos, and it's a really great content piece. Did you know? So when we look at did you know, I love this because it's quick and easy for our social media tiles. Things like, did you know that it takes 60 minutes to burn of cardio to burn off 1 glass of red wine? People love that one, don't they? Did you know that 30 minutes of weight training a day can increase your metabolism? Whatever it might be, it's a little did you know fact. And again, you can use your Canva or your Typorama to create those social tiles. Instagram question button, or polls and questions. So I'm pretty sure most of you will be aware of the Instagram question button by now. It's been around for a little while now, but this is one of the best ways to create content for your customers that they actually want to hear about. And just bear in mind, I'm making the assumption that your customers are, or your clients are, on Instagram, by the way. If they're not on Instagram, then obviously leave this one alone. But for those of you that do have an audience on Insta, then go ahead and ask the question, use the question button. So it's like, ask me anything, or ask them something specific and find out what they come back with. And then use those questions to create your social media content. You might want to do that through images, or you might want to answer them on video. Topics from industry influencers or conferences. So to give you an example of this one, I quite often look at influencers, for me personally, from around social media, from all around the world, from social media, sales, marketing, entrepreneurs, just to see what they're talking about. Because the simple fact is, I know that the topics that they're talking about will probably, in my case, benefit you guys, because that's what I do is try and help personal trainers with their professional development. So I look at, what are the latest social media gurus doing? What are the latest sales and marketing people talking about? So for you, as fitness professionals, you might want to take a look at the topics that are being presented at major industry conferences like Filex. You might want to look at what other influencers are talking about, and hopefully that can also inspire the content that you create for your market. Now, a couple of questions have come in, guys. First of all, can we see the recording here later? Yes, you can, Michelle. Maddie will be able to, from Fitness Australia, will be able to share the recording with you later. How do you set up the Instagram question? Great question. So very quickly, guys, when you go into your Instagram app, you're going to go into the stories section as if you are setting up a story. Once you're in that story, you can then go into the section where you're going to put your, you might have like a image, for example, and then you're going to add the GIF. So where you would normally go to get a GIF, or you go to add your location or your mention or your hashtag, in that section, there is actually a button that's called questions. So it's about halfway down. So you're going to tap on that button that's called questions, and it automatically pops up on your screen and it says, ask me a question. So you can post it as it is, or you can put a customized question in there. So for example, I recently asked on my page, what is the biggest business challenge you have as a fitness professional? And then people come back and they give you their answers to that question. So once again, guys, so you're basically going into your Instagram story, you're going into the section that gives you the option of doing location, mention, hashtag, GIF, music, all of those things. And the button is questions. I hope that answers your question, Andrea. Thanks for asking. Okay, guys, so the last one is repurposing. And I mention this one because I find that so many PTs have huge amount of content. So you're out there taking photos of your personal training clients, you're taking videos of them, maybe you're talking to camera yourself. You've got all of this content at your fingertips. Why not repurpose it? So what I mean by that is turn your videos into an article, or turn your articles or your blog posts into a video. It can be anything at all. It might be that you've got a whole series of social media posts. Why not turn that content into a series for Facebook Live? So don't feel like you always need to come up with new content like we've just been talking about. You can actually go back and repurpose old content in a different way. Okay, let's keep going. So onto our final of our 3 sections. So we're talking about systems to streamline your professional development. And where I want to start with this, and this is quite a quick section of our session today. The first section is creating a learning ritual. So quite often, and this comes down to everything that we do in our businesses as a personal trainer or a sole trader, we get very caught up in our day-to-day work, things that are interesting, like our clients and doing our sessions, or maybe learning about the latest kettlebell technique, tend to take priority from some of the things that are probably pretty important to our business or to our own professional development, just simply because it's human nature. We get excited about certain things, and some things we leave down the bottom of the list. And unfortunately, what I see is the business side of personal training is sometimes one of those things to get left at the bottom of the list. But I'm sure I don't need to tell you that the more you learn, the more you earn. Yeah, the more you learn, the more you earn, because that knowledge brings you richness in your skills. It brings you qualifications as a personal trainer. It helps with the communication that you do with a client. So learning should form an instrumental part of your working week and even your working day. So when I talk about creating a learning ritual, what I mean is this. Think about, let's say on a Sunday night or a Monday each week, you decide that you want to learn something new from a business perspective, or maybe it's even from a technical perspective. It's up to you. So set yourself a time where you say, okay, I'm going to take a short article, maybe a podcast, maybe an Audible chapter, maybe a video, maybe an online course, and you're going to allocate time to actually learning. Maybe it's 20 minutes, maybe it's half an hour, maybe it's an hour. It's up to you, but allocate that time. Schedule that time in your diary. From that time that you spend, I want you to write down 3 key learnings, just three key learnings for what you learned from that source. Okay, once you've got those 3 key learnings, then straight afterwards or the next day while it's fresh in your mind, share those 3 things with a colleague or with a friend. So teach them. Yeah, pay forward that information straight away. And the reason I'm telling you that is because paying forward that information is going to help cement it in your mind. And then if you have the opportunity and if it's relevant, then turn those ideas into actions, turn that information into action. So perhaps it's an action about maybe changing the way that you do your onboarding process with a client. Or maybe it's about a new technique that you're using in an exercise that you're doing. Whatever it is, try and follow that ritual. So find the article, the podcast, the course, the video, whatever it might be. Allocate the learning time. Draw out 3 things that you learned from that piece of information. Share it with a colleague or a friend, and then when possible, try and implement it. It's super important. Another great way that you can really start to learn more is by learning on the go. And apps like Audible or Blinkist, which is like a book summary app, make it super easy. Personally, I do all of my learning while I'm walking the dogs. I just find that it's a time when I can do it because I don't have time to sit down and open up a book most of the time. So Audible, Blinkist, or podcasts are a really great way to learn. And just to reiterate, you want to read it, listen to it, watch it. You want to even write it down, and then you want to share it. So just try and reinforce those learning habits into your mind as you go. There's a couple of resources that I want to share with you today. One is a blatant ad for my show, the Fitness Business Podcast. But the others are books that personally were hugely valuable to me as a personal trainer and as a fitness professional. And the other two are podcasts that I want to share. So Find Your Why might sound familiar to a lot of you. A lot of you might be familiar with Start With Why, which is a very well-known Simon Sinek book. Now it's also a great TED Talk, which you can watch it on YouTube. But essentially, Find Your Why was the follow-up book to Start With Why, and Find Your Why really does help you identify why it is you do what you do. And by identifying that, it can help you with so many avenues of your business and how you actually progress and grow your business over time. So I highly recommend that book. Key Person of Influence by Daniel Priestley, who is an Australian author, is a phenomenal book, and it's really goes quite hand in hand with Known, which is the book on the right-hand side of your screen. And both of these books really talk about how it is that you can grow your personal brand. Key Person of Influence breaks it down into a number of different ways that you can become a key person of influence, and Known focuses a lot on kind of digital branding and becoming known. And for any of you that are trying to establish yourself as an expert in a particular area of personal training, then get your hands on these books because it will really help you out. The podcast that I mentioned down the bottom, Sales Gravy, is a phenomenal sales-based podcast. So for anyone that needs help with really trying to ramp up their personal training sales, then take a listen to Jeb Blunt, who's the host of that one. My show is in the middle there, the Fitness Business Podcast, and I hope that I do have some listeners who are watching today. If you haven't checked it out, guys, every single week I interview an expert from around the world, and the expert will focus on different business-based topics: sales, marketing, social media, finance, retention, anything that helps you become a more successful and a more profitable fitness professional. We cover it in the show. So you can check that out at fitnessbusinesspodcast.com. And I include the last one, How I Built This, for all of the budding entrepreneurs out there. How I Built This basically has a look at the stories of how different hugely successful entrepreneurs started, what they did in the early days, the struggles that they went through, the successes and failures that they had. It is one of the biggest podcasts in the world. It's a phenomenal show, and it's a really inspiring show. So I recommend that you check that out as well. Okay, guys, so huge amount of information today. So here is an action I would love you guys to do, and I want to thank you so much for all hanging on today. I would love you to share your top 3 takeaways that you got from today. I'd love you to share it on Insta Stories for me right now. So just list them 1, 2, and 3, and make sure that you tag We Are Fitness Australia and Chantal Broderick Fitness so that we can reshare what you learnt. But have a think back about the different sections that we went through today. Have a think back if there are particular apps that stood out to you that you think that you can utilize in your business. Maybe it's the time management stuff. Maybe it's the social media stuff. Maybe it's the content creation ideas that we stepped through. I would love you to jump over to Insta Stories right now, share with me your top 3 takeaways from today, and make sure that you tag We Are Fitness Australia and Chantal Broderick Fitness. Okay, so a couple of little things. For those of you that said that you are coming to Filex 2019, I would love to invite you along to a brand new session that I'm presenting this year, which is called Creating Captivating Content, Engaging Your Audience with Visual Design. I've actually teamed up with Australia's leading fitness photographer, Gareth Christensen, and Gareth and I are going to be doing a very hands-on session, which is going to take you through getting started with content planning, how to use your smartphone to take great photos for your social media, video tips and tricks. This is all using your smartphone. We're going to go through an equipment toolbox. I'm going to talk to you about fast tracking your content distribution, and we're going to do some hands-on stuff with the phone to help you guys with things like lighting and just tips and tricks and settings on the phone that you may very well not know that exist. So that's happening on Saturday, April the 13th. Now, I also would love to invite you, if you are coming along to Ursa, I'd love to invite you along to the FBP Family Meetup. That is the Fitness Business Podcast Family Meetup, which we do on Friday the 12th we take off from 5:50 a.m. in the morning from Darling Harbour, and we walk around the Darling Harbour waterfront, and it's all of the listeners of the show. It's heaps of our guests. There's lots of Philex attendees, and it's a really great place to meet people at the beginning of Philex 2019. I'm also going to be doing a session called Lessons in Leadership, a High Performance Playbook on Friday the 12th, where I take you through what are the best lessons that we see or we can learn from leaders within the fitness industry that we can implement into our business. On Saturday, I have the amazing pleasure of hosting the Women in Leadership Forum, which is happening between 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. And if you're a Philex attendee, then that is included in your Philex registration. And last but not least, as I mentioned, creating captivating content is on Saturday afternoon. So it is a busy Philex schedule. Now, guys, I would love, love, love to connect with you all. So please make sure that you reach out to me. I've popped my contact details at the end of that slide once again. You can register for Philex if you haven't already at philex.com.au. You can check out the Fitness Business Podcast right there on our website. My favorite social media platform is LinkedIn, is LinkedIn, but it's actually Instagram. So LinkedIn, you can get on me from all my professional stuff. Instagram, I would love to chat to you guys over there. Don't forget to share with me your favorite 3 takeaways from today, guys. I really hope that you enjoyed today's session. And if there's anything that I haven't answered, then I will definitely feed those answers back through to Maddie after today. Feel free to write more questions, and we are definitely going to share today's session with all of you, and you can also grab a PDF. Alicia, thank you so much for your feedback, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope to see you on social media very, very soon. And if you're coming to Philex, please make sure you come and say hi and introduce yourself. Have a brilliant day, guys.
Thanks so much, Chantal. That was fantastic. So as Chantal said, all attendees will receive a copy of today's webinar via your email. And if you have any other questions, feel free to email me or contact us on 1300 211 311 or email info@fitness.org.au. Thank you so much for joining us and enjoy the rest of your day.